What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Bucketology, and what a time to be alive. What a time to be a basketball fan, coming off the heels of one of the most insane roller coaster conference finals that we could have possibly imagined, conceived. Who could have written this script? The Miami Heat avoid choking away a 3-0 lead. The Boston Celtics, they thought they were gonna make history, and they completely folded, collapsed, rolled over, and died in a hole last night in their own home arena in a game they were favored by 8 points. You better believe I took the Heat money line in this game. Who cares? We're talking about Jaylen Brown today. We're going to get to the Heat eventually. Jaylen Brown, though, I think this is the most important, most intriguing topic of conversation for the Boston Celtics at this point. The season is over. This guy, Jaylen Brown, he was a top 3 overall pick in 2016, and his development has been something to behold. From just a super raw, slashing bruiser wing into a polished 3-level scorer, and makes the All-NBA second team. He has his best regular season to date. If there is anybody to blame, any single one entity who had a serious amount of responsibility and pressure to deliver in this series, it was Jaylen Brown, and we can honestly say this man is not a number 1 on a championship team. Not that I said he was a number 1, but coming off of last year, there were legitimate questions about Jason Tatum. Is he the guy that's going to carry a team to a championship? You kind of need a guy that's like a top 5 level player, something I didn't think Jason Tatum was, but let's just say Jaylen Brown had a chance. He had an opportunity coming off of his best game, his only good game of the series in Game 6, in a series that he had stunk up, generally just been a negative player throughout it. In Game 7, when Jason Tatum goes to the basket and he comes down bad on that ankle, and we see that he is not the same player after this, that he cannot do what we expect him to do, especially in this level of high-stakes game. The floor is yours, Jaylen Brown, and what do? You take a dump with 8 turnovers. You gave them the ball as many times as you made a shot. This was his opportunity. You can erase all of that. Playing like ass in games 1 through 4, no one would have ever thought about it again. If you came out, dropped 30, got your team the W, you would have been the man, the hero. You would have gotten this extension. This would have been money in the bank. $295 million supermax. The Celtics are now looking at that dead in the face, and they have to contemplate if this is worth giving to Jaylen Brown. And even if they decide to give it to him, maybe they just move on anyway and trade him anyway, because maybe he is not the right guy to pair with Jason Tatum, because maybe, after all, regardless of how great and deep this team is and how championship ready it seems like they are, they just can't get it done. They get on the doorstep, they fall short every single year, and frankly, it's disappointing considering the amount of firepower they've had on their team and the amount of conference finals appearances they've had, that they do not have a championship ring yet. And I will say that is because Jason Tatum hasn't been the guy to carry your team to an NBA Finals W, but he's gotten better every year. The Celtics are far from a perfect team, and my biggest problem with the Boston Celtics at this current juncture is their offensive philosophy, which is to live and die by the 3-point shot. Incredibly analytics, computer-based, and stupid. It's like you guys never watched basketball. Whoever's idea this was, that we don't care about mid-range shots, we don't care about dribble penetration and getting fouls and layups. The Heat, last game, they were getting layups. And the Boston Celtics, they were bricking 3-point shots time after time this season. Like the Celtics, they started off the year blazing hot, shooting 3-point shots better than anybody had ever done it from an offensive efficiency standpoint. You come back down to earth. This is just obviously not sustainable for playoff basketball, and you don't go away from this ever. You just say, okay, we're gonna get hot again. Momentum is a very powerful thing, and in the playoffs, you need momentum. You need to get an easy one to make the harder shots, and 3-point shots, unless you're a certain type of guy, they're not layups. They're not guaranteed anything. Al Horford shot 45% from the 3-point line this season. Nobody could fucking tell in this series. So that's one of the big problems the Celtics have. They don't have the playmaking point guard that gets the guys easier shots, and instead the team often relies on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to create their own shots, and you see what happens. It's just a lot of turnovers. Jaylen Brown especially doesn't really know how to dribble late in games, or just when he has to put too much pressure on himself. I have to score here. I have to go one-on-one. Don't even look, see if anybody's open. The lack of star player leadership on this team has been a problem. Marcus Smart and Al Horford are like the heart and soul, the guys giving direction, like Al Horford taking the clipboard and the timeout. But Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're the younger guys. They're not as much the vocal leaders. How are they going to instill that they need to be controlling things and not like Marcus Smart, for example, who it seems like is just always taking the shot at the end of the game for whatever reason. Another thing with this team going forward, the big man outlook. Like, Al Horford looked old as shit. Like, he needs to retire yesterday and be playing golf by now. That's how he looked. Not saying he can't come back. He is basically Benjamin Button, or at least has proven to be, reviving his career, because it did look like he was done when he was in OKC and Philly, right? But Robert Williams, your other big man, this dude can't stay on the court for more than 20 minutes at a time. And besides that, who else do you have? So Jaylen Brown is certainly talented enough to be the number 2 on a championship team. He's definitely one of the best number 2s we have in the league, but I have questions about how much of a team player he is, how much he really makes his teammates better. Like, he definitely takes pressure off of Jason Tatum, but he can be kind of a black hole. He's not a heady passer. He's regressed on defense. He hasn't improved on his flaws. He's gotten better at what he's already good at, like scoring the basketball from 3 levels. He's as good at doing that as he's ever been. But the guy still has problems dribbling a basketball. He's still not a playmaker. He's still not the guy you want to initiate your offense, which just proves by itself that he's not a number 1 guy. But it's concerning when someone like this, who has played in so many huge high-stakes games in his career, so many playoff games, game 7s, conference finals, and his flaws don't really seem to be shoring up. Other teams are aware, force him to his weaknesses, and what's the counter? So the core of this team is still phenomenal, with Marcus Smart, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and obviously Tatum as the guy, but something obviously has to change here. They're bad at home in the playoffs. They're not good in close games. Jaylen Brown this is a bad playoff series for him. It might be his worst series of his career. And having a 34-year-old rookie head coach that is running this terrible offensive style of basketball, not utilizing your offensive talent well enough, I mean, that's the big thing. That's the big problem I think that has to go first. It's not necessarily about the coach. You maybe need some better assistants, or Joe just has to scrap that philosophy. And if he doesn't, then you do need a new coach, because this is not winning a basketball championship. No matter how good your team is, we can see how good this team is. So that's going to do it. Let me know what you guys think. But Jaylen Brown, very disappointing. And the truth is that you're just not that guy. So yeah, that's going to do it. Peace.